that's not me, okay? Okay. Too close? Good? Good, okay. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. That was the first time I was introduced as an author, and my book comes out next month, so that was kind of a fun moment. But I am sure y'all have been hearing a lot of amazing speeches and conversations about the state of our environment, what we can do to help our planet. I wanted to talk today specifically about climate optimism in the media, as I know a lot of y'all are working in the media, and how we can do the best job possible of really keeping people in alignment with what is actually happening, but also leading them to a source of hope for what could happen if we all take action. That's a really hard balance to strike. It's something that has taken me a long time to figure out, and I still don't have figured out completely, but wanted to share what I could about it. So, okay, climate optimism in the media. So I want to start with what I define to be climate optimism, which is, everyone has their own definition. But to me, it's not the expectation of, but rather the hope for a salvaged planet and the pursuit of actions that are in alignment with what needs to be done to get there. So the role of media is what I see to be twofold in terms of climate education. Step one is convincing people that we have a problem, and that's a huge feat in and of itself, which I'm sure many of y'all have taken upon yourselves so honorably. But the next step is convincing them, why it's a relevant problem. And that is the hard part that we have yet to unlock, because so many people still don't think that climate change is relevant to them, even though we know that it's not to be true. But also, they don't think that it's relevant because they don't see a way out of it. And that is really what climate optimism helps unlock. Because relevancy really lies in three things. One, if you believe in something. If it relates to the things that you care about, whether it be freedom, family, stewardship, faith, your job, regardless of what it is. And then three, if it's something that you think you can actually help combat. And most of us don't actually think we can help in the fight for our planet. And that's really where this dialogue and this framework of climate optimism comes in, is it helps unlock these barriers to change that have been put in place by the systems that have gotten us into this mess itself. And so if we can unlock the relevancy, we can get closer to action that everyone can be a part of. To put some stats on this, around 32% of Americans don't feel knowledgeable about the actions that they can take. It was hard to find more specific stats, but I'm sure the percentage is even higher for those who feel like their actions are too small to actually make a difference. And this is very understandable, because we are used to hearing solutions about sustainable swaps and lifestyle changes that can feel very minimal in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we all probably just heard that the Biden administration unfortunately approved the Willow Project, and as much action as we took to prevent it, as many calls as we made, that unfortunately didn't prevent it from happening. Now, it is worth noting that President Biden and the administration did make some concessions because of the pushback, but it still happened. And so that can be so discouraging when we, just as our individuals, can't make a difference in this big issue. I want to provide some sort of hope and references for why we can combat it. So, on the energy side, wind and solar panels have become 70% and 89% cheaper, respectively, in the last decade, making it cost competitive with coal and oil. Over 50 cities and subnational governments have endorsed the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. Government funding for environmental justice and actually environmental justice boards within governments have never been so high. $40 trillion has been divested by institutions from fossil fuels and other extractive industries. 181 CEOs of America's biggest corporations overturned the 22-year-old policy defining a corporation's purpose as maximizing shareholder returns, and expanded that to include protecting the planet and its people. And finally, this one's surprising, but a majority of Americans actually value environmental protection over economic growth. This was recently flipped because before the 2008 recession, they valued economic growth more, and just now in 2016, those numbers flipped again in favor of environmental protection. So there are reasons to be optimistic, and those, as you saw, are not just simple menial reasons for hope. They're pretty grand. The 40 trillion that has been divested from fossil fuels as a result of numerous student groups and activist groups, religious faith-based groups coming together to ensure that their institutions that they're a part of are not investing in what will become a destructive planet. So there are reasons to be hopeful that we just outlined, and we still do technically have a chance of staying under 1.5 degrees warming from pre-industrial times. So given those reasons for hope and the reality that we all share of what state our planet is in, it's really important to balance those communication aspects. So I find what is most effective in communicating is we need to talk about what's going on right now, and then the solutions part, what needs to happen in the future and in the present to get us to that livable future. And that's the part that's really missing in media. It's hard to verbalize all of these solutions because there are so many, but I think that posing them to viewers of content is so vital because it's hard to imagine those solutions as a consumer or a citizen yourself. And that's where having that environmental science, environmental policy background in media and film is really, really helpful because you're providing those grounded stats, information on what we can really do, what is actually possible to get us to the future that we want to get to. So, book plug. My book is coming out next month, as I said. The first section unpacks the cognitive biases that make it really difficult to be an optimist, but specifically a climate optimist. And it talks about things like information bias and negativity overload, which we all suffer from, especially because of social media, and reliable steps on how to overcome that. The next section, which is my favorite, and I previewed a few of those solutions in my previous slide, but it looks at the most promising systemic solutions to this systemic crisis, including divestment, including intersectional environmentalism, including shareholder activism, and it provides inroads for you to really get involved with these game-changing movements and their leaders. And the final section, which I think is really important and all of us know, is it highlights Global South leaders who are innovating solutions to the climate crisis that we typically don't think of, and highlights their work, many of which is really unrecognized, and shows ways that we can amplify them in what we're doing. So you can scan the QR code. It's available for pre-order. But thank you for all your support. I would love to talk to any of y'all about climate optimism. Yes?
It says the QR code is disabled for some reason, so just it says that on mine too.
That is so funny. It's kind of. Okay. Just Google, I think, would work. Picture. There you go.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for flagging that. And thank you for your time and all that you're doing for the fight for a better future. Thank you.